Trump went down to the border today. Seemed to have been well received. I was reminded of her first interview after the Access Hollywood tape came out, and how she's been deployed at some of Donald Trump's lowest moments. Let's watch her trying to clean that one up.
As you can see from the tape, the cameras were not on. It was only a mic. And I wonder if they even knew that the mic was on, because they were kind of a boy talk, and he was lead on, like egg on, from the host to say dirty and bad stuff.
So I think indisputably that was the lowest moment of his campaign. I think beyond dispute, this is one of the lowest moments of his presidency. And once again, Melania bailing him out.
Well, in the Trumpian move of deflecting, it's never their fault. They're never the ones accountable for Mr. I alone can fix it at the RNC convention. He doesn't have any control over the policies that his administration implements. It's Congress's fault. It's President Obama's fault. And you look at Melania Trump, who took this trip today, and I actually was heartened by it.
Me too.
It seemed genuine. It seemed caring. She was saying the right things. And then I'm going to be honest, I don't know what to make of the jacket.
Let's put the jacket up. Many of our viewers were off Twitter today. They wouldn't have seen the jacket.
It was off message. It was very off message.
Do we have that picture?
The picture of her jacket from Zara, I don't care, in white lettering on the back of the green kind of cargo jacket. And she didn't actually wear it among the children, but she wore it boarding the plane. And this isn't her first rodeo of heading to a crisis zone and being critiqued for her clothing, like when she wore the high heels across the lawn, getting on the flight.
So for anyone listening in the car, this is a picture of Melania Trump boarding Air Force One to head down to McAllen, Texas, to visit some of the children being held in detention centers. She's wearing a green jacket, we believe, that came from the clothing store Zara, and on the back it's written in white, "I really don't care, do you?" It's on the back of her jacket. Nick?
Look, the First Lady spokesman has said it was not meant as a statement. I choose to believe it was not a statement.
Let's put that up.
But it does. It does speak.
She cares. It's just a jacket. She's a model. I mean, she sort of knows the power of clothes.
She does, but the important thing is it does speak to the layers of theater this presidency is always wrapped in and deploys. And one thing they're very good at, and this is probably conspiratorial, but is a split-screen presidency. There's like 4 or 5 different presidencies for different audiences, and one presidency is the version we saw at that rally, and the other is the First Lady making nice at the border. And maybe the third message is also her wearing the jacket on the way to the border. We're all kind of obsessed with it for good reason, and they narrowcast these messages to different audiences.
That's an interesting theory, and I don't think it's conspiratorial. I mean, anyone that has, their kids can't wear T-shirts with writing on them for certain reasons, because everything is saying something. And I wonder what you make of Melania Trump, again, getting sent in to do cleanup, being well received, and I think being genuine there. I don't have any doubt that she was there as a human being, but the fact that she has, throughout so many of these crises, put out messages that seem to stand in such stark contrast to her husband's. We found her tweet after Charlottesville. She said, "Our country encourages freedom of speech, but let's communicate without hate in our hearts. No good comes from violence. Hashtag Charlottesville." She was welcomed, warmly welcomed, at Barbara Bush's funeral. There's a picture of her standing next to former presidents who, I don't think it's any secret, don't think much of Donald Trump. Not one of the 3 former presidents who were there voted for Donald Trump. So what do you make of Melania's sort of rogue but not rogue existence?
It's also striking that we see her today, and the jacket does, of course, confuse matters, because we've seen so little of her recently. After that surgery, she disappeared off the map for more than a month, I believe, and then she has slowly re-entered the public sphere in the last week or 2. But she does play a role. She still remains pretty popular. Her poll numbers are pretty good, certainly higher than her husband's. And she has been used at times to try to change the subject, or to give a sort of softer edge to Donald Trump's very, sort of blunt, short, sharp sense. What's also striking, though, is whatever behind-the-scenes role she has played here on this decision. Now, she, of course, did tweet a few days ago the idea that she was upset by these images of the parents and children being separated. It's also, a spotlight has been cast on Ivanka Trump, who, of course, has made her portfolio in the White House. She billed herself as a force for good in this administration, in the West Wing, and with a particular focus on parents and children. but she was silent throughout this crisis. And obviously it is hard for a White House advisor, and she's paid staff, she's not just the first daughter, she's paid staff, to publicly disagree with the president. That said, it also perhaps speaks to the limits of her influence that this could have happened all along, particularly on an issue that she says she is so passionate about and that we only hear from her publicly after it's resolved.
Well, and the limits of her influence are laid bare in the president's decision on the Paris Climate Accord, her tweets after. I mean, Ivanka Trump, tell me a debate where she's prevailed.
Right, very few. And it's also,
are there any?
It's also this Washington cliche that every time there is a momentous thing, suddenly the friends of Ivanka, the anonymous aides, the White House officials, people familiar with her thinking, sort of press, go to the press and say, well, she tried her best behind the scenes, she lobbied, she may have been successful, she may not have been, but she always did. And that is something that, and eventually it's proof is in the pudding, and it seems like there's very little influence she actually does wield.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.